Welcome back to the In Between Overs podcast. We're your host for today's play. I'm Taran.
And I'm Ishaan.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
What a series. 1-1. India versus New Zealand. Second ODI. Now New Zealand draws blood with what an inexperienced New Zealand team compared to the Indian side they were facing. You had informed Kohli. You had Shuman Gill, who, looked good in touch, but New Zealand had a great partnership that they were able to build up and were able to make this series 1-1. So now, at least now, we won't have a dead rubber. As you know, Toronto, we know you don't like at all. So third match is what they're playing for. And now we have a series on our hands.
Yes, I'm super stoked that we have a series on our hands. I never liked dead rubbers, and New Zealand deserved this victory. Daryl Mitchell slowly becoming talked about as one of the best one-day players right now going around. He's very consistent. I believe he has moved up a spot because Kane Williamson is not in the team, so he's coming in at number 4. I believe he usually used to come at 5, or maybe it was 4 and 5. I don't follow New Zealand as much. But he's been very consistent. First ODI scored, I think it was an 80, deserved 100 there as well. And he got the 100 this time. Could easily say he's had back-to-back hundreds. He's been playing really well, and he was able to. I think he finished not out, so he was able to win the game for New Zealand with with ease in the end.
Oh, yes, yes. And just to add on Daryl Mitchell, got the red ink, right? That's what they say, the red ink, the red,
Yeah,
red, red
yeah,
pen,
yeah,
the
yeah.
red ink. Yeah, got the red ink. But I think he brings to New Zealand is like he brings that foundation, right? He brings that, he's a gun fielder, whether it's in the slips or diving for the catches. I think he brings that stability that, in the back of the New Zealand's mind, he's always there. We kind of saw a little bit of that in the Champions Trophy as well earlier this year, how big of a proponent he was for New Zealand's campaign at that time. And again, as your point, I feel like, and I also feel like these conditions, subcontinent type conditions, suit his batting. He's able to take on the spinners. He's able to use his feet very, very well. And I think yeah, he really does show that he's an informed batter, and let's see if he's able to go 3 for 3 in game 3.
He was well supported by Will Young. They had a match-winning partnership of around, it was a 162-run partnership. Will Young scored 87. He deserved 100 as well. And he got out trying to keep the scoring rate up, trying to take the attack to Kuldeep Yadav. And but that partnership changed the complexion of the game because it looked like India had a sniff with the way they bowled in the first 10 overs or 12, within 12 overs, New Zealand were 2 down for 46. Run rate not that great. They were able to apply pressure. Opening bowlers Siraj and Rana bowled really well and followed up by Krishna. But then Will Young and Daryl Mitchell stuck it out, and they were able to play old school cricket, old school one-day cricket, knock the singles around, they keep the scoreboard moving, hit the bad balls for boundaries, and they 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 manufactured a partnership that India were just not able to break.
Yeah, yeah, and like I think India should understand as well that this is an inexperienced New Zealand team. So if you're able to make inroads on partnerships, it's super important. And I think, and I believe there was actually a Daryl Mitchell drop catch. It was Kuldeep Yadav was bowling. And I believe Krishna dropped the catch. I think Daryl Mitchell was on 70 or 80 off. And
Yes.
again, it is important, catches, do happen. Sorry, drop catches do happen. We understand that. We've seen it all the time. But, you know, when you're playing in an inexperienced team, when you make those inroads, when you apply a little bit of pressure, that's when usually the experienced team sometimes overwhelms the inexperienced team. But I think, drop catches happen, but sometimes those are the crucial moments in the match.
It's the old saying, right? Catches win matches. Sounds cliched, but it's so true. You take your catches, you win the match. It's that simple as that. When you give batsmen another chance, it's easier for them to build off of that opportunity. And you saw that in the last game too, when New Zealand dropped a bunch of catches against the Indian lineup. So you can't do that, especially in international cricket when you're playing against world-class batsmen. You can't give them a second chance. And India suffered because of that.
In India suffered for sure. Okay, so we talked about New Zealand's batting. We talked about India's fielding. What about India's bowling? Obviously, India using a plethora of bowlers. Nitish Kumar already was in this match. You had Kuldeep Yadav, who went a tad expensive, some may say. What were yours? What were your thoughts on sort of India's bowling lineup?
I think New Zealand just played them really well. I don't know if there were too many bad balls, although when I watched the highlights, I felt the spinners were a little bit on the shorter end. There were a
Hmm.
lot of cuts in the highlights packages, a lot of cuts and pulls, and that just tells me that they were dragging the ball short. So perhaps too many bad balls by the spinners, hence Kuldeep going for 82 runs when he's generally fairly miserly with the ball. And we didn't see a lot from Jaddu. He bowled decently from an economy standpoint, but no wicket-taking deliveries in there.
Yeah. Looking back at sort of the target that New Zealand were chasing, 284 on a surface like this. Again, in cricket, you always have to put an asterisk on the surface itself. It wasn't a highway, so to say. Did you think it was too short, or maybe 20 short or 30 short?
Yeah, I think India were definitely short. We also need to call out the fact that Washi is not playing this game, plays as a
Hmm.
sixth bowler, and it made a huge difference because to our surprise, even though Badoni's in the squad, they played Nitish Kumar Reddy, who I didn't even know was in the squad. And he comes in as an all-rounder and he bowls 2 overs. So clearly they missed another spinner in there, and they don't have the part-timers like they do in the T20 team where they have the likes of Abhishek Sharma, the likes of Rian Parag when he's in the team, and a couple others that I can't think of right now. But right in this one day team, they don't have too many bowling options, which has been a weakness of this one day team. They have out and out batters, but they don't have batters who can bowl much, like a few overs here and there. When Tilak was in the ODI team for a few games, he was able to give you that. And I believe he's the future of Indian cricket, so we'll see some of him later on. But that's what they missed. They missed that sixth bowler.
No, and I see what you mean there. Speaking of the batters very quickly, obviously, India not playing with sort of, I would say, to your point, the batters who can bowl as well. A lot of all-out batsmen, especially in the first five batters that they have. What were your thoughts on sort of India's batting approach?
So India felt they were, like we said earlier, at least 20 or 30 runs short. I think that they started off really well with Shubman Gill's 50, and that partnership between him and sorry, it wasn't him. It was Shreyas, not Shreyas. I forget the partnership. I know it was Rahul. It was actually a string of partnerships, just looking at it
Hmm.
here. Rahul essentially held that innings together. No one else really was able to kick on. Gill got to a 50, but everybody else was right around the 20s or lower. And it was Rahul's innings that held it together, and it was a phenomenal innings by KL Rahul, which I know we'll expand more on. But overall, I thought India could have done better with the bat for sure.
Yeah, I think to your point, there's a few soft dismissals in there as well. Again, not Kohli. Usually Kohli was sort of, I would say, if you look now, hindsight, obviously 2020, he was maybe carrying the top batting order by his performances. Kind of missed him today. You'd hoped that Rohit Sharma would have stepped up, scoring, a 24 off 38, pretty, pretty decent. It's not something that I think he should be proud of. But you didn't really have that sort of uh additional performance in the top four, which I think was probably what you needed. We will get to the middle order because I think there's a lot to discuss there as well. But I think, you could have expected at least Kohli to go a little bit longer based on the form he's in, or maybe sort of, a Rohit Sharma show, which we are expecting sometime soon now.
Shout out to Christian Clark, who's playing, I think, his second game, and he was able to create that little wobble in the middle there where he got a he got Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, and Shreyas Iyer. Those are big wickets to get. And he was able to take them out, which caused India to rebuild through the partnership. Yes, it was Rahul and Jaddu that strung together a recovery partnership of about 73, and that got India to a place where they could kick on from there and try to push for that 300. So you can't discredit New Zealand as well. It looks like they had some plans in place on the wicket and they executed pretty well too.
Yeah, to your point there, and it is, we know how skillful the Indian, that's right, the New Zealand bowlers are. And to your point, you're able to get, those big wickets. To your point, now looking at sort of the India's lower middle order, we talked about Nitish Kumar Reddy scoring, only bowling 2 overs, scoring a fast 20, but that was it, right? Like in terms of, you hoped Rana would score some runs, but did you feel like maybe India needed some more batting options, maybe a longer tail?
Yeah, India have two main issues in this one day team. One is we talked about we have batters who can't bowl at all, and then we have bowlers who can't bat at all.
Mhm.
When you have a team where you have a number 11 walking in at number 9 in Mohammad Siraj, sorry, Siraj, I know you can hold a bat, but not that well. When you have Siraj coming at number 9, you have a problem. You definitely have a
Yeah.
problem. And I feel that this is always going to be a problem until India have at least a genuine medium pace bowling all rounder Hardik Pandya, who's I believe being put in a chamber for the T20 World Cups so that he's fit and ready to go for that. So without a genuine medium pace bowler all rounder who can bat in the top 6 or 7, it's going to be tough. Nitish Kumar Reddy again, he's still young. We've got to give him time. I feel that India need to invest in him more. He seems to only be getting opportunities when people get injured or when someone's sick or things of that nature. He's not getting consistent runs in the team, and I hope one day he will because he has the talent, he has the potential. I just feel he needs more consistent opportunities.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And just a quick point on sort of Hardik Pandya. I think you raised such an important point on him. Obviously, now he's not being considered for red ball format. He is a white ball bowler or white ball player.
Yeah,
I think if we look at the ODI World Cup in 2027, you could, and Hardik Pandya is still fit. You could potentially, and I think India should see him in that squad if he's fit. If he's able to bowl 4 or 5 overs, he should be in the ODI squad. Now, up until that time, though, to your point, we should rest him because he's our marquee T20 player. But India should then look to fill that spot, which I think they kind of are with Nitish Kumar Reddy, as grooming an all-rounder for the red ball format. But he's just not fitting the piece right now. I think you gotta use the ODI that spot that they have in the ODI format right now for these bilateral series to groom an all-rounder for the test format.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I'm with you there with regards to grooming and all around for the test format. With this one day team, if they can get if they can get another bowling all-rounder like a Harshad Rana. I know maybe a stretch to call him an all-rounder, but again, that batter who can, on
Hmm.
a good day, give you 20, 30 runs at a decent clip, hang in there with the other batters, I
Hmm.
think that will go a long way. Can Siraj turn into that? I don't know, but we need something like that, right? And if you look at the other bowlers in within the 15 or 20 or whatever you want to call it, you have Bumrah, Prasidh Krishna, Ashdeep. These are not batters, right? Not batters in the sense of batters, batters in the sense of like, can you trust them to hang around for 3, 4, 5 overs? I
Hmm.
don't know. I can't. Right. So I think we just need that. We need one more Harshad Rana type batter at 9 and we'll be fine. Yes, if Hardik comes in, he comes in instead of NKR 100% or in that number 7 spot. And then maybe we have Washi play in Jadeja's spot if Jadeja is completely out of form going forward.
Yeah, again, a lot of questions all on the all-rounders. Looking now sort of ahead, game three is Sunday. Where do you see sort of the game playing out? Do you see India making any changes? We already saw Washi's injured. Arshdeep still hasn't bowled yet. Again, we also said we may potentially see a top order batting lineup change with maybe Yashasvi Jaiswal coming in, and we haven't seen him come in yet. Do you see any potential changes for a series decider on Sunday?
So I think it'll be pitch dependent with the changes. They are playing in indoor. I don't know what type of pitch we are going to see. I feel it'll be more or less the same lineup. I think if it is more spin friendly, we may see Ayush Badoni come into the lineup because he can bowl spin. I haven't been following him that much in the domestic game. I know his batting's been amazing, but I know he does bowl in the IPL as well every now and then. Can you rely on him for 10? Maybe not, but maybe he can give you 4, 5, 6 overs of spin. So if it's spin friendly, we may see Ayush come in instead of NKR. Other than that, I don't see too many changes really. I think Kuldeep stays. He'll figure it out. And then maybe you could see Arshdeep coming in for Prasidh Krishna.
Hmm.
Although again, I hear rumors that he's being in the chamber next to Hardik Pandya on ice until the T20 World Cup or the T20Is. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I think they're load managing him is what I feel.
Fair, fair. I see that perspective as well. You know, it is literally around the corner. We heard teams are sort of coming in now. No, to your point, I don't see any changes. Yeah, you're right. I don't think you want to risk arch tape in a bilateral series. It's not
But
really.
in a potential match-winning game, series-winning game,
You got literally a T20 World Cup in India. In India, I
that's
don't
true.
think you want
That's true.
to, hurt your premium left arm baseman. But no, I think yeah. But I think India should again be favorites to win. You know, they have that experience side. We saw how they played, but you do have to say the first match wasn't as was closer than people expected, and the second match obviously New Zealand won. So the third match, I think India need to really step it up and really put on performance if they want to make it a clinched victory.
Yeah, you can't take these New Zealand teams lightly. No matter which team they put on the field, they'll give it a shot and they'll be going for a victory. Remember, this New Zealand team won the test leg just a year or a bit ago, 3-0, and they'll be itching to get a white ball series under their belt as well.
Yeah,
Until
no,
then,
no, it's going to be
that
exciting.
stumps. Until then, that stumps.